When we look at the unfolding situation and analyze the reports, about 3,000 Israeli soldiers killed in Iran's latest joint attack. It is important to understand the scale of what such a number means and how it fits into the larger conflict framework. This is not just about statistics, but about a chain of coordinated operations, military strategies, and the larger ripple effects that stretch from the battlefield into politics, economics, and public perception. To begin with, the figure itself signifies one of the largest single losses Israel has claimed in decades. For a nation that prides itself on its highly organized and technologically advanced defense systems, losing 3,000 trained personnel in a condensed period underscores the gravity of the situation. Each soldier represents not just manpower, but years of investment in training, discipline, and equipment. And losing them simultaneously creates both immediate gaps and long-term challenges in the military hierarchy. The reported joint attack, attributed to Iranian forces with possible cooperation from allied groups or states in the region, points to a highly coordinated effort. Iran has spent years refining its capabilities in missile technology, drone warfare, cyber operations, and asymmetric tactics. Their strategy often revolves around combining conventional firepower with unconventional surprise, designed to overwhelm advanced defense systems like Israel's Iron Dome and Arrow interceptors. When 3,000 casualties are reported, it strongly suggests that this was not a single strike, but a sequence of operations hitting multiple military facilities, bases, or convoys simultaneously. The use of saturation tactics is likely, meaning Iran may have launched waves of drones and missiles in carefully timed intervals to deplete interception resources, and then follow with precision strikes on troop concentrations. From a technical standpoint, Iran's growing missile arsenal plays a key role. Systems like the Fateh 110, Zulfiqar, and Dezful are known for their medium-range precision. While longer-range ballistic missiles such as the Shava and Sajiel families can reach deep into Israel, these weapons often travel at high speeds, and when combined with decoy drones or electronic interference, they can slip past even sophisticated radar-guided defenses. This raises questions about how the Israeli Defense Forces positioned their soldiers, what level of preparedness they had at the time of the assault, and whether they underestimated the intensity of Iran's coordinated offensive. Equally important is the psychological and symbolic aspect of such a blow. Soldiers form the backbone of Israel's defense doctrine, which emphasizes readiness on multiple fronts, from Lebanon and Gaza to Syria and beyond. Losing such a number in one joint strike is not only a material loss, but a symbolic one, shaking the perception of invincibility that Israel has cultivated over decades. Public confidence, both domestic and international, can waver when the military suffers visible, large-scale setbacks. Allies may begin to question whether Israel can sustain prolonged engagements, while adversaries might feel emboldened, believing that the once unshakable defense machine has vulnerabilities they can exploit further. Design elements of the attack likely extended beyond hardware into cyber and information warfare. Iran has previously demonstrated capabilities in targeting communication, infrastructure, radar systems, and command chains. A joint attack of this magnitude could have included deliberate electronic warfare to blind surveillance, jam communication lines, or feed false signals to defense operators. In modern warfare, success does not hinge solely on missiles and drones, but on how effectively information flows are disrupted. If Israeli forces could not coordinate defensive responses in real time, the attrition effect would be magnified and casualties would mount. Performance aspects of Iran's strategy can also be seen in how the attack was staged. Historically, Iran and its allied groups like Hezbollah have rehearsed operations where one strike distracts while another lands a critical blow elsewhere. This time, by targeting troop concentrations rather than infrastructure alone, the emphasis appears to have been on weakening Israel's manpower directly. A missile strike on a barracks, for example, or drones attacking convoys moving reinforcements can cause massive casualties in a short span. The efficiency of this attack demonstrates that Iran has advanced not only its firepower, but also its intelligence capabilities, meaning they had precise knowledge of where and when Israeli troops were positioned in high numbers. Such intelligence could have been gathered via satellite surveillance, cyber intrusions, or cooperation from local networks embedded across borders. The broader context is equally essential. Israel has long relied on its qualitative military edge, which refers to advanced technology, U.S. support, and superior training to outmatch numerical disadvantages. However, this event shows that when an opponent leverages joint operations, combines multiple layers of attack, and strikes with precision, even a technologically superior force can be caught off guard. Iran's unique selling point here is its ability to adapt and innovate despite sanctions and global restrictions. By focusing on homegrown missile production, drone swarms, and hybrid tactics, they have crafted a playbook that directly targets the weaknesses of conventional armies like Israel. This adaptability gives them an advantage in asymmetric warfare, where the goal is not always to occupy territory but to inflict damage that shifts the balance of morale and strategic positioning. Looking at the numbers more closely, 3,000 soldiers represent not just frontline infantry, but a mix of roles: mechanics, intelligence operatives, medics, armored units, and logistics personnel. Losing such a variety of specialized troops simultaneously means Israel faces a multifaceted challenge. Replacing a trained pilot or a cyber defense specialist takes years, not weeks. Even with reserve forces, the quality and readiness can be diluted when so many key players are lost at once. This has direct consequences for Israel's operational flexibility. In future conflicts, commanders may be forced to stretch resources thinner, delay counteroffensives, or rely more heavily on allies for support. Publicly, the narrative around such a strike will differ depending on the audience. Iran will likely frame it as a victory showcasing resilience and strength against what it calls Zionist aggression. Israel, on the other hand, may downplay the numbers or reframe the event as a tragic but temporary setback, emphasizing its capacity to retaliate. The truth, however, lies in the visible strain such losses impose. International observers, whether from the United Nations, NATO, or neighboring Arab states, will carefully weigh the implications. For some, this may be an opportunity to pressure Israel diplomatically. For others, it could signal the need to prepare for a wider regional conflict. Another element to examine is the ripple effect on Israel's defense industry and global image. Israel exports military technology worldwide, from drones to missile defense systems. A successful breach of these defenses undermines confidence in those products. If Iron Dome or Aero systems could not prevent mass casualties, potential buyers may begin questioning their effectiveness against saturation tactics. This creates both an economic setback and a reputational challenge, forcing Israel to demonstrate improvements or adaptations quickly. From a human perspective, 3,000 soldiers are not just statistics. They represent families, communities, and an entire society grappling with grief and anger. In a country where military service is compulsory, such losses resonate across nearly every household. National morale can shift dramatically when families see widespread funerals, media coverage of destroyed bases, or footage of overwhelmed hospitals. The political leadership, including the Prime Minister and Defense Minister, must then navigate public demands for both security and accountability, a balancing act that becomes harder when trust in military preparedness is shaken. Iran's choice of timing also carries significance. Military offensives are rarely random. They are often aligned with political calendars, religious events, or diplomatic negotiations. By striking when Israel might have been focused on internal political issues or external negotiations, Iran maximized the shock value. Timing also influences international response if global powers are distracted by other crises. Israel may find less immediate support, giving Iran greater freedom to shape the narrative. When breaking down the technical design of such a joint operation, it likely included not only missiles and drones, but also ground-based support from proxy groups. Hezbollah in Lebanon, militias in Syria or Iraq, and even cyber cells abroad may have contributed to creating multiple pressure points. This joint nature is what amplifies the scale. Israel can usually contain threats from one direction, but simultaneous strikes from multiple vectors stretch even the most advanced military to its limits. Iran's success here is rooted in creating a coordinated network of pressure, proving that unity among its allies can produce results far more devastating than isolated actions. Unique selling points of Iran's approach in this scenario revolve around cost-effectiveness and scalability, compared to Israel's expensive defense systems. Iran invests in relatively low-cost drones and rockets, which can be mass-produced and deployed in swarms. By overwhelming expensive interceptors with cheap decoys, they tilt the cost-benefit equation in their favor. This is a strategy tailored for long-term attrition, draining Israel financially while inflicting steady military and psychological damage. It is not just about one battle, but about stretching resources over time until vulnerabilities widen. From a military analyst's perspective, the performance of Iran's weapons and strategies in this incident will be studied carefully worldwide. Countries observing from afar will take notes on how saturation attacks can challenge advanced systems. Defense contractors may already be considering adjustments in radar sensitivity, interceptor reloading times, and artificial intelligence integration to counter drone swarms. This battle, therefore, is not just an isolated event, but a case study that could influence global defense planning in the coming years. Israel's response will determine whether this loss remains a tactical blow or evolves into a strategic turning point. Retaliatory strikes may focus on Iranian assets in Syria, proxy bases in Lebanon, or direct cyber assaults on Iranian infrastructure. However, the pressure of domestic opinion, international law, and the fear of escalation into full-scale regional war may limit how far retaliation can go. Every step taken in response risks opening new fronts, which may not be sustainable with such a high casualty baseline already in play. The social media battlefield cannot be ignored either. Images and videos of destroyed bases, convoys under fire, or mass funerals are circulated instantly, shaping perception in real time. For Israel, controlling this narrative is critical. But in today's decentralized information ecosystem, it is nearly impossible to prevent damaging visuals from spreading. Iran, meanwhile, capitalizes on these optics to frame itself as victorious and resilient, bolstering its image at home and among supporters abroad. In conclusion of this segment of analysis, the reported death of 3,000 Israeli soldiers in Iran. IS's latest joint attack is not just a matter of battlefield numbers, but a convergence of technical mastery, strategic timing, and symbolic impact. It demonstrates the vulnerabilities even of highly advanced militaries when confronted by persistent and adaptive opponents, while also signaling to the world how modern warfare increasingly depends on layered tactics that combine firepower, intelligence, cyber disruption, and information control.